Hi there, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Delivered Podcast. I'm your host, Athena Estelle, and I'm so glad that you have chosen to join us tonight. Whether it's your first episode or you've been with us from the beginning, we are just so glad that you're here. I'm so excited on today's episode to have one of my oldest friendships on the show. Her name is Amanda. She is joining us from Ohio, and we are just so glad that she's here. So, welcome, Amanda.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to pick your brain. I know it's been a long time, but we go back to, I don't know, 2, 3 years old.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Back to
crazy.
good old Harland.
I know. Thank you, Cleveland. And
Yeah.
yet another reason why social media is so cool because
Yeah.
I know for a while we kind of lost track and then we found each other and I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. We went to different grade schools and high schools but then social media. It's hey, old friends. So
Yes.
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So go ahead, introduce yourself. Tell us whatever you'd like to share about your pregnancy journey and your delivery. So just go ahead and start wherever you feel.
All right. I'm Amanda Schmigel. I live in Medina, Ohio, with my husband Joe and our 6-year-old twin girls, Jules and Izzy. And the road to Jules and Izzy was a hard one. We struggled with infertility for about 2 or 3 years and went on a journey of infertility medications that have the side effect of multiples. So we were pleasantly surprised at 6 weeks to find out that we were not having a miscarriage, but we were having twins. I went to the emergency room because I was having some bleeding and that. So that started the whole anxiety of the whole pregnancy from the start. So pregnancy was actually easy. Joe will beg to differ. He says that I was horrific. That I was a terrible pregnant person, but I felt like
Why?
I did cry every single day. The anxiety started right off the bat. It was like, how are we going to take care of two kids? I don't even know how to take care of one, let alone two screaming babies. How are we going to afford it? Am I going to breastfeed? Just so many questions that run through your head with not just having one, but now you're doubling it with a second. And are they going to be born on time or born early? And so just every day it was crying in my Cheerios, like, how is this going to work out? But as they progressed and I could feel them move and pregnancy when it got a little bit easier. But yeah, it was definitely a journey and I was ready for them to be here. They were due February 1st and I had them 5 weeks early. My water broke at work right in front of the copy machine. So I'm still the talk of, oh, you almost had your babies at work. But delivery was easy. Labor was, I shouldn't say it was easy. It was hellish because when you are pregnant with twins, you have to deliver per the clinic's policy in a operating room in the event that one of them flips or there's a complication. So I had to essentially give birth on an OR table, which if you've ever been on an OR table, it is uncomfortable. They can't sit you up or anything. So it was like half of my body was numb because of the epidural, and I'm pushing on a very small OR table. So that was a little traumatic.
Mm.
But I pushed for 3 hours and Jules was born. And then 11 minutes later, Izzy came.
You had them both vaginal?
Yes. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty cool.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, so it made postpartum recovery physical a lot easier than if you had a cesarean. But I was ready for anything. It was whatever was going to be safest for all three of us. But yeah, they were both head down. Jules was head down for, gosh, forever. Like I could feel her in my pelvis every
Oh,
waking moment. I'm like, oh my gosh, brace myself to walk. But that was good. I was glad because that was made life a little bit easier with
mhm.
delivery and everything. And they didn't have to do anything with moving the babies or anything. So it worked
Yeah.
out pretty well.
Oh,
So
that is incredible. Yeah.
yeah,
Would you
yeah.
say that birth was, I don't even know how to word it. Would you say that it was as challenging as you expected? Or was it challenging in ways that you couldn't anticipate?
I would say in ways that I didn't anticipate. I remember pushing and going, "Oh my God, I can't do this. I didn't work out
Mhm.
enough to do this." And they just kept saying, "Oh, your body knows what to do. Your body knows what to do." When half your body is numb, how do you know what your body's supposed to do? Um, But it is true. They say you'll know like when to push and when a contraction happens. But I'll never forget my sister-in-law right after she's, would you ever do it again? And I very quickly said, no, I'm never doing this again. Just last year, I was like, maybe I could do it again. It's funny how your brain forgets like the
Hmm.
pain you went through and all the medication and the pain of being so pregnant. It just goes away. But delivery was definitely tough. The epidural was anxiety producing, but really wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It was all that paperwork you had to sign. Here are the risks of doing this. Um, so yeah, it was definitely not what I expected. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird when you're pushing because you can feel at least for me, I could feel the pressure. Like I knew something was happening, but you're right, you are numb. So it's not
Hmm.
like you can feel like the motion of it, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they'd be like, okay, yeah, she's right there. And I'm like, I don't feel like, okay.
Yeah. Are you sure? And then
Yes.
some pushes, I'm like, I don't even think I was pushing the right way. I don't think I was using the right muscles in that push. And I remember them saying, we're going to take your epidural from a 10 to a 6. And then when they put it to a 6 and I felt the pain, I was like, I cannot imagine what a 1 would be right now. No, like God bless the women that do it naturally with no drugs. Cause I'm just like, nope, I don't think I
Yeah.
think I'd probably pass out from the pain because it was
Hmm.
like, it was intense. It was just like, okay, this
Hmm.
is as bad as it's going to get, but can't imagine it at a 1.
Yeah, no. Oh my gosh.
No.
I feel like unless you had the ideal setup like you did, like your water broke, you were progressing, things were going well. But even then, I'm like, no,
Yeah.
it's a lot. I don't know. For me, I didn't expect to get any back pain. Toward the end, like right before I got the epidural, it felt like someone literally was putting a hot poker like in my
Oh,
spine. And I was just like,
yeah.
oh my God. And I remember the nurse said to me, she's, I feel like we should have a chat. And I was like, if this broad mentions the epidural, I'm gonna lose it. And we like asked everyone to leave, and it was just her, me, and Chris. And she's, I just feel like you're not gonna wanna think about this when you remember your birth. Is this how you're gonna wanna remember it? And I remember I started like bawling, Amanda, ugly
Oh.
Kim K cry. And I was like, okay, you can go. So she like laughed. And I don't know, it's hard because as women, most of us were planners, right? So you've got like a birth plan or expectation.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to hold very loosely to the term birth plan because I was just like, there's so many unknowns. And I was like, a healthy baby, that's great. That's the plan. But that pain is so interesting because I've had other friends that give birth, no back pain, like
Yeah.
just down in the goods and baby's out and they're walking. And I'm like, what?
Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Everybody I've talked to has had so many, like mine was all right in the front in my abdomen, and
Hmm.
it just would be like a sucker punch to the gut. Okay, here comes a contraction. I never had the back pain, but it's just crazy how everyone's bodies are so different and how they process pain and process birth. It's
Oh,
really
it's,
interesting.
isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
I love it. This was
yeah.
not on our list of pre-recorded questions, but are you
Mhm.
considering another?
Absolutely not.
Oh, you changed your mind.
Oh yeah. No, I
So
always
you
joke
thought about
around.
it for a blip.
Oh, yeah, a blip. I'm like, no, we wanted to have more than one. And there's a reason that God gave us two at one time. And
Oh,
they ask all the time. They're like, oh, we want a baby brother. And I was like, oh, that's nice. But it's not going to happen.
oh
No,
yeah.
we figured with our luck, we would have another set of twins, and we don't want that. So we're happy with the two we have. But yeah, no.
Oh, that's wonderful. No, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you say going through your postpartum journey? You
Mhm.
guys, you have the babies, you bring them home. What was that like reintegrating to just establishing a routine with twins? What did that look like for you and Joe?
So our original plan was because we were having two, we needed extra hands. And so my in-laws, they live on 4 acres. They have a 4-bedroom home, and they said, come and live with us. We'll take care of all of you. We'll help out because they were on like a strict feeding schedule because they were early. They had to eat every, I don't know, 2 hours. And so they offered for us to come and live with them, which was so gracious. But because they came early, I was not prepared whatsoever. I didn't have a bag packed. I was not prepared to leave that morning for work and then end up in the hospital and then not coming home to my home that next day or whenever we got out of the hospital. So we settled into a pretty good routine. We were home for about 3 days or whenever like the first appointment was. And we had a good thing going and we got to their first pediatric visit. And they told us strip them down, dust down to their diaper, and we'll get them on the scale and we'll weigh them and stuff. And we're like, okay, sleep deprived and holding our naked babies. And they go to take their temperatures and they're like, your babies are hypothermic. And we're like, what? And they're like, it's like they're reading way too low temperature wise. And we're like, okay. And the doctor's, I think we're going to need to send you back to the hospital for like IVs and all this stuff. So 4 days after we get home from the hospital with our 4-day-old babies, they're sending us to the emergency room. This was at Medina Hospital, which is right near us, and go to the emergency room. And the doctor comes in. And what's so funny is that it was the doctor in the other emergency room that I went to that told me that I was having twins, was here trying to prick my babies with IVs. And I was like, these are the twins you told me I was having. And it was just so a roundabout moment. So they did send us back to Fairview Hospital, to the Children's Hospital, and they had a spinal tap and a urine dip and IVs. They had 4 days of antibiotics. So we spent the next 4 days in the hospital. They didn't have any infection whatsoever. What happened is like at 35 weeks, babies can't regulate their temperatures on their own. So you have to extra swaddle them and stuff we were not told when we left the hospital because we didn't have NICU time or anything. We were just treated like normal postpartum. And so we actually had the NICU nurse come down and say, you didn't do anything wrong. It was the staff should have instructed you like, hey, they're 35 weeks, make sure they're super, which they were super warm. But when you take them to the doctor's office and you have them naked to look at, make sure everything looks good, we just sat there with them and their temperature dipped. So we got educated. And so I was like a real big proponent. I said, you need, please educate. And I do not fault any of the postpartum nurses that we had because they were all fantastic. They were just like so happy that they weren't in the NICU and that we had no idea. So that put a blip in our routine. I was like, we just got on a routine. Now we got to change the routine. But it all worked out. We got home and everything went back into our normal routine and swaddled the crud out of them in multiple layers
Yeah.
and they were December babies, so it was winter, so we're just holed up in the house anyway. Yeah, the routine, we quickly got into who's going to be up at midnight, who's going to be up at 3, so it was nice having those extra hands to help out.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so nice. I'm glad that you had that. It's
Hmm.
funny with the swallowing when you said that, when you're like double swaddle. I remember because in the hospital, when they swaddle a baby, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so tight. Are they breathing?
Yeah.
And then I learned real quick, like that first week or two, if you don't swaddle them tight enough, at least she'd wake up, smack herself in the face,
Yep.
hit the bassinet, and I'd be like, oh my God. And then I remember I said something at like her first appointment, and he's like, how tight are your swaddles? And I was like, they're okay. And he's like, I bet they're not tight enough. And so he's swaddled her for me. So I did. And he's like, no, this is not going to cut it. And I was like, I don't
Aw.
want to put her in a straitjacket.
But it's
But
crazy, like you and you watch them sleep, like how much they jerk and they move and everything.
it's crazy.
You're like, oh, they like wake themselves up. But it was
Mhm.
not a good swaddler at all. We have a picture of them, their arms are out.
Uh-huh.
Just they didn't want them to be confined at all from day one. So it's probably because they were in the womb together, squished in there for so long. So
Aw,
yeah.
I love that. Now, are they identical or fraternal?
Oh, they're 100% fraternal. Yep.
Okay.
One is a carbon copy of me. The other one's a carbon copy of my husband. So yeah, one
That's
has
so
blue eyes, one
cool.
has brown eyes. Yeah. Yep.
That is
Completely
so
different.
cool. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Now, when you were going through the postpartum journey, speaking more of just yourself and your own personal journey, when did you feel that things weren't right? Either you noticed, or maybe Joe or your mother in law noticed, but when were you just, okay, this is not good?
It was probably actually the second day we were in the hospital. So 2 days after I remember the nurse practitioner came to the room to talk to me. And I had struggled with anxiety and depression prior. So I was on like antidepressants, but I hadn't been because I was trying to get pregnant, didn't want to be on anything. And she took me into the hallway away from everybody and she's, so how are you? And I like lost it in the hallway. And she's like, okay. Like I said, I just don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know. It was just like every anxiety and fear just went through my brain in the second day. So she did put me on medication to help calm the nerves, but I feel like you're running on so many hormones at that point that it doesn't really kick in until who knows when, because I felt like I struggled for a lot of weeks in those first few weeks. I think it was just like a shock to the system. You have two babies, you have to keep them alive. That's just what we were running on fumes. But I would say so that was the first point that I saw that, and I had already had the anxiety prior while I was pregnant. So I was like, okay, this is heightened by 100 or 1,000 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say by the time they were 3 months old, I went back to work and I had some semblance of a routine. But I
Mm-hmm.
would say at 6 months is where I was like, I needed to talk to somebody. I needed to work through issues, family issues, and friend issues, and adjusting to a new life of who am I again? I'm a mother, I'm a wife, but who am I again? Who is Amanda? Who I didn't know who I was. I was just like, okay, I'm just walking around, pumping milk, making sure everyone's happy. So I would say at 6 months is when I was like, I need therapy. I need to go see somebody. And I was grasping at straws to somebody other than my family, somebody, an outsider that didn't know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And by that point, I want to say, so 6 months. So it wasn't yet COVID, but at that point, that's when I like reached out and found a therapist to talk to.
That's great.
So yeah.
And they were helpful.
Yeah, I saw them for like over 2 years,
Oh, that's great.
doing EMDR therapy.
Yes, that's what I
Yes.
did.
Yeah. And game changer. And actually, I'm a social worker by trade. So I was a social work friend who I'm like, please give me a recommendation to your therapist because she was seeing her for EMDR. And so I made the trek out to Solon, which was 40 minutes away. And I was like, I don't care. I need to do this for my own well-being. And it just saved my life. I will say it. It saved my mental
Mhm.
health. I was a better mother because I was getting therapy and talking to my therapist I had the guilt of, oh, I'm driving 40 minutes away. I'm 40 minutes away from my babies. But Joe was like, no, you need to do this for yourself to make, you be your best self. I've always had his support, whatever I needed to do to make myself better and to be a happier person. He was always on board with that.
That's a
So,
good husband right there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It is hard when you become a mom because I think so many of us, when you're in it, it's good that you recognize that. But I think it took me a really long time. Yeah. Like deep in therapy to realize obviously I was a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a friend, sister, whatever, all these things. But yeah, you totally lose yourself. And
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard to pull yourself out of that. To me, I couldn't have pulled myself out of that by myself. There's no
Hmm.
chance. I don't think I would have made it. So
Hmm.
I'm glad that you took that leap and reached out for help. I think that's always one of the hard. They always say the first step is the hardest. So good
And
for
it
you.
and it was hard because it was like I felt like deep in I'm like, something is wrong. I can't fix it. I'm always like, I can fix it. I'll be fine.
Mm.
And then I was like, no, I need this. I need to go talk to somebody about everything going on. And I just thought EMDR was the coolest thing. So many things. Like it's still, I'm like, oh gosh, is it going to wear off? Is my brain going to go rewire itself back to that point of this is how you feel? And it hasn't. So it's been like 4 years and I'm still like, okay, this is great. I feel like if I could give any advice to any mom, find help, reach out, even if you can't find them on your own, have somebody find somebody for you.
Mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm,
owe it to yourself to do that, to go and, make your best self, even
mm-hmm.
if you don't know what that is at this point. Yeah.
There's that saying, I'm going to mess it up. I'm not good at remembering the sayings, but it's like you can't pour from an empty cup. So
Yeah.
if you're not taking care of mom, how can you take care of anyone else? It's hard.
Yeah.
It's super hard. I'm proud of you though. That EMDR, man,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It's like, and I was so skeptical about it because I'm like,
Same.
I learned about it in grad school and stuff. I'm like, this is so like hippy dippy. This isn't going to work. And I was like, this is the best thing. I thought it was like too like new age or yeah, I don't know. But now I'm like a big proponent of it. I want to learn more about it. And it's just amazing how something so simple, it's a lot of work, but something like just by talking and the repetitive movement, just how that can rewire signals in it's just amazing. It's really
Mhm.
amazing.
Did it trigger
Yeah.
some stuff like prior to you being a mom or no?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
isn't that
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
weird? Was that weird for you? Because it
Yeah.
was very weird for me.
Yeah, it was a lot of childhood things, growing up, parents, grandparents, almost like why I do certain things a certain way and how to change it. Because I always said, like when I had kids, I wasn't going to raise them the way I was raised. And you sometimes fall into those habits of, oh, I sound like my mother or I sound like my father. And I was like, I don't want to do that. Yeah, it did bring up some stuff from the past and not even childhood, but just even young adulthood too. Just like things and like the word trauma. I never thought that I went through anything traumatic. My
Hmm.
therapist told me, like, anything, if it affected you in a way that it still brings up some type of feeling, that's trauma. And I was like, okay. I'm thinking
Hmm.
like nothing happened to me, like nothing people have been through worse than I have. And she goes, no, don't undermine your own journey. If it's traumatic to you, it may not be traumatic to someone else. If it's traumatic to you, it's valid. I'm like, okay. And that kind of solidified. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Even having the girls early, she's, that's traumatic too. And I'm like, I didn't like really look at it that way, but the anxiety I had 2 days later showed that like it was traumatic and that I wasn't prepared.
And then getting them home, getting into a routine, and then
Mhm.
bam, from the doctor back to the hospital. I bet
Yeah.
that had to be traumatic. And then just watching all that stuff at the hospital, that's traumatic.
Yeah.
It is ironic that you say that because I feel like I said to my therapist, Lauren, like almost something identical. I haven't really been through anything like super traumatic. And then she's like, all right, tell me about your worst breakup and tell me about this and tell me about that. And then when I was like saying things, I bet that was traumatic. And I'd be like, yeah, I guess it was. Whatever.
Right.
And then we'd talk about something else. And then I'd be like, huh. Because we think trauma, and I'm thinking like car accident, like parents dying, abuse, all this stuff. And I was like,
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
fine. And
Yeah.
then, when you go through it, you're like, oh, yeah,
Right.
totally traumatic.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's like funny how we undermine it, like to the point of, oh yeah, it wasn't a car accident. It wasn't
Hmm.
yeah, that's exactly how I felt. And she's like, nope, that's if it's traumatic to you, it's valid. I'm like, okay,
I
cool.
know. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it
Yeah, I'll
is.
put a link in the episode for that type of therapy because it is
Yeah,
absolutely life changing.
it is. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
It's really amazing.
that's awesome. What would you say are a few things that the postpartum anxiety taught you, either about yourself or how to cope with it? How did it help shift you into the person that you are today?
It taught me to definitely give myself grace that I'm not perfect. I'm a human. I make mistakes, and I can't control everything that happens. I went through a period of time, especially when they were in preschool, which is a few years after postpartum, but I went through preschool where like, they were sick all the time. And everyone told me it's normal for them to be sick all the time. And I just had to teach myself that I can't control it. Okay. They're going to be sick. And this is the worst it could get. If it gets worse, we have resources. Just remembering that not everything is the end of the world. It may feel like the end of the world. It may pass like a kidney stone and be terrible for a moment, but that it passes. So I think it's taught me, in a nutshell, just to give myself grace and freak out when you have to, but get yourself grounded using any type of technique you can to calm your nerves. And just remember, it won't last forever.
It's so true. Because when you're in it, it's this is it. This is the end.
Hmm.
All of that, whatever that is, like dramatization. But then when
Yeah.
you're out of it, you're like, oh, okay. And then you think you have a handle on things. And then it shifts into something else.
Life throws you another
I
curveball.
know. I
Yeah.
know. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah. Looking back so far, what would you say is your favorite stage so far?
Oh gosh, my favorite stage. I would say everyone says, oh, terrible twos. They're terrible at two. No, I loved two. I thought two was great. Like they were just coming into themselves and learning about the world and just loving every little new thing they learned. And then they turn three and the opinions start. And it's three was tough. It was
Hmm.
tough.
I agree with you
But
on the two.
mhm.
We still say to this day, she was fine when she was two, but we used to call it the three-nager
Mhm.
because that's when she started like bartering with me. And I was like, why am I bartering with a 3-year-old?
Yep. Yeah.
I'll wear that if I can, whatever. And I'd be like, well, who are you? Are you a politician? What? Like, you won't believe what she said to me today. And Chris would be like, oh, I see that. And I raised you this. Like, she didn't want to wear her coat because
Yep.
I'm like, gone are the
Yes.
days when I could tell her, like, this is what you're wearing. Okay, mommy. Puts it on,
Right.
out the door.
Yeah. Happy with everything you put on. Yep, you're the best mom ever. Oh yeah,
Oh,
three was definitely a teenager stage. I totally agree with
mhm,
two. I loved just because they were just learning and just the world was perfect to them. Everything was so wonderful and so
mhm.
exciting and their little voices and the way they say things.
Yeah, it's
I
sad
love
how
that.
that shifts, isn't it?
So quickly, so
Oh,
quickly.
I know. The
Yeah,
baby voice, I miss it. It's just so precious. I know.
yeah.
What would you say to first-time moms? Pieces of advice or things to think about? What would you leave them with?
Just the first thing that comes to mind, just give yourself grace. You are a wonderful mom. You're a good mom. If you worry, you're a good mom. If you cry every day, you're a good mom. Just give yourself grace. It's hard. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard. No one
Mm-hmm.
tells you how hard motherhood is. It's you're
Mm-hmm.
worrying about everybody, you're worrying about yourself. Just remember to take time for yourself. If you don't take time for yourself, like you said, you can't pour from an empty cup. So take care of yourself first and foremost. What they say, like in an airplane, when the air mask comes down, put it on yourself first and then give it. It's okay. It's not selfish to take care of yourself. It's not selfish to reach out for help. It's sometimes warranted. And people may not tell you that you need help. Only you can do that if you're deep down inside feeling lost or scared or confused.
Mm-hmm. And I think by just talking to more and more moms about this, you're definitely not the first mom to feel that way. Any mom listening, you're not the first mom to feel like, "Oh my gosh, I'm doing everything wrong. Like, why isn't this working?" All those doubts. I think we all have felt that at some point
Mhm.
or another, or still do. The grace is a very hard thing because I think in society there's such a fake facade around like the idea of perfect. And what does that even mean and who's defining it? But I think if you just focus on what you can control, it's exactly what you said earlier, because there's going to be so much out of our hands in this world. We're just focusing on showing yourself grace and, what you can control.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
What would you say to spouses, partners, or support people for moms as they're going through this process? Was there anything that Joe, I know he was fantastic. Was there anything that he specifically did that you were like, oh, yeah, do that? Or just being available?
He's always been available. I've always been very blessed. I have friends whose spouses are like hands off. They are old school. I go to work, you raise the kids kind of thing. And Joe and I have always been a team. And so I would say definitely have that conversation. And we had that conversation too while we were pregnant, job responsibilities and things like that. And he's now like, they're my kids too. I'm going to help you feed them and take care of them. And he learned how to, he was like changing diapers better than me at certain points. And he's always been a very hands on, responsible dad. And I know a lot of husbands and spouses and partners out there may not be that gung ho about, rearing children and think it's far more old school. But I would say just look for your partner, your spouse, look for the telltale signs where you know that they're struggling and don't discredit it and help them and ask them sincerely, what do you need help with? What can I do for you? I find it like even in taking care of yourself, like going out with a friend for coffee, taking an hour out of the day to do a Target pickup order, something like that. Even if it's just that you need just to step away, see if your spouse is okay with taking on the responsibility for a couple hours or an hour so that you can
Mhm.
get some time to yourself. But I would say too, just know your partner and know what, as a mom, or know what their triggers are and like when they're breaking down and just know those signs so that you can help them.
Mhm. Yeah, that's great. I feel like even if you're the mom that's super into cleaning or keeping your house like super just put together, just knowing that and going and proactively doing the laundry or emptying the dishwasher, just those easy basic things. I feel like as women, we're so quick to make decisions and handle it and from this to that but I feel like at some point, especially with twins, I commend you so much because I was struggling to be like, okay, what are we doing next? Like in the rally of life going on around us, what are we handling next? And so to do that with two brand new babies, like you guys are rock stars. That's super great. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. I love the question, like, how did you do it? And like, how did you do it with two? And I'm like, that's all I know. I never knew how to take care of one.
Yeah.
So yeah, taking care of two is that's all I know.
Yeah.
And you just do it. There's no you can't not do it. It's
Right.
like, nah, I'm just gonna leave her over there and I'll just take care of this one. You don't have that choice. And we were blessed. Our babies were pretty good from the get-go. We got them in a routine and took all the advice and it worked out. But I know of other twin parents that have not been so lucky and it's hard to get in a routine. It's hard to have that discipline of disciplining yourself and getting into a routine. I still struggle with sleep issues and stuff. I say all the time that if the girls are having a sleepover at grandma and grandpa's, I sleep perfectly well, no problems. But if they're in the house, I sleep with an ear open, an eye open. Just I hear them in the middle of the night, and it's just a mom thing.
Mm.
From day one of them waking up in the middle of the night, it's just something that
Yeah.
you just don't sleep well anymore as a
No,
mom. And
literally.
yeah, but it's amazing how little sleep you can run on and still function somehow.
Hmm.
Yep.
Literally, it's a miracle.
hmm
Now, when they were like newborn, say newborn till maybe the first year, when they would eat at night, would you feed one and Joe would feed the other? Or would you feed one, put them back to sleep, and then feed the other, get them back to sleep? Or did it alternate?
I think they didn't wake up very much after because they got to a certain weight and we were able to like cut down on the feedings. He mostly would get up with me, or my mother-in-law would be up with me. And so she'd feed one, I'd feed one, and we'd put them back down or change them. And then in other, like at a point where they could hold the bottle themselves, sometimes they would just eat like up in their little bouncy chair or something. And
Mm.
we made it work that way. But most of the time they were on the same schedule. They would wake each other up. So it was like, okay, they both are going to eat.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, and it worked out. They never latched, so I never breastfed. I just pumped exclusively, and then we did formula. So it was easy because then we had bottles made, and somebody else could help with the other one. And
Mm.
or if I wasn't home, then there were bottles, and
Yeah.
so it worked out well.
Oh, that's
But yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
we had them. Like I said, we were pretty disciplined in making sure that they were on the same schedule, so that wasn't like we
Oh,
were up all
that's
night.
so smart. Yes, I've
Yeah.
heard of it getting thrown off or one goes out of whack or something. And I'm always like,
hmm
oh my gosh, no. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's tough. Now, I know the EMDR was like life changing for you. Was there any other resource or anything that had helped you along in your postpartum journey?
I read a lot of like blogs. Twiniversity was my go-to
Okay.
and I can't recall her name right now, but she's out of New York City and she had twins and she came up with this book, like what to do when you have two. And so she had a lot of good resources of just how to deal with twins and how to deal with the emotions and also finding your tribe, finding your support group. And so I actually joined a local Mothers of Multiples club. And that really helped as well. And I'm still involved in it and met some amazing friends. And I really think, even as mom of singletons, like finding a mom's group where you can commiserate with other moms, it really helped being with other twin moms too. Like the support that you need, like from people that are going through what you're going through and are local and can tell you like pediatricians to go see or doctors to go see or this support group to go to. So that was like the biggest thing was finding my moms of multiples group, the biggest resource.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy that when you start talking to other moms and you'll hear them say it and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel the same way. Or, oh my gosh, I didn't think anyone else thought of that. Or, holy cow, that's crazy. And there's always that one mom that's whatever. But most of them were
Yeah.
like, we're on the same page. But I think
Yep.
that's awesome. Was there
Yeah.
anything about twins that you felt like came easier than you thought?
Mm.
Once you had them on a routine, was it pretty steady?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great.
To be honest, everyone's, oh, you're going to be like late to everything. You're going to be like running behind. And honestly, I've always been ahead of the game. Like we always are on time. And I think it's just having that discipline. And even now, with them being 6 and they can do things on their own, we're still like, they know this is how this is the routine. So let's get going and waking up for school and stuff. So I would say, yeah, once we had the routine down and it just all fell into place. It was easier taking them out to places and we would do fun things. And I think if they knew the expectations and that, it's good. So,
Oh, that's great. Now, is there anything that I haven't asked or anything that you wanted to share that we either didn't chat about or anything like that?
I think so. I think we hit on everything.
Okay. I just always
Um,
like to ask because in
yeah.
case there's just like anything itching, but that's great. You've done fantastic. But we have to close with my favorite question. This is my favorite question. So, if you had to describe your postpartum journey in one word or phrase, what would you say that would be?
I would say it would be educational,
Hmm.
which is probably a very generic word, but I learned so much about myself and about being a mother from postpartum. You would never think that you're going to go through that journey. You're like, oh, you're going to have these babies and you're going to be so happy. You're going to just be fawning over them. And it's hard. And I think it's just eye-opening. So I would say educational and eye-opening.
Hmm.
Just the amount of emotions that becoming a mother and going through the motions brings out as the days go on. But I think it's also like a healing journey too. It healed parts of my childhood, becoming a mother um, and going through the anxiety and going through the depression and knowing that there's help available, whether you have to fight for it for yourself or somebody else helps you, like it's there and it's okay to have that help. And yeah, you just learn more about yourself and how you can manage your new normal.
Hmm. It's a great way to put it. I love that. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for being here and being so open and sharing your story. It's been awesome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, it's been super fun. So I'll link your social in case
Okay.
anyone wants to reach out. And I just really thank you so much for being here.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll catch you next time.